I'm doing a video on changing the manual transmission fluid on a Kia Soul. This happens to be a 2020 Kia Soul with a manual transmission. Now, I use this for work. I deliver new vehicles, and this getup I got on the front is something I had added, and I need to change my tranny fluid often because when I'm pulling, the fluid is still moving and the bearings are still being lubricated and it's still being beat up. So I'm going to change my fluid today myself. Also, you will see the black cover I removed. Now, I just remove all the screws. There's screws and tabs. There's tab here and a tab here, tab here, screws and tabs all throughout this thing. But I hit a 18-wheeler tire tread and it busted it up. So I've got it wired in and I don't want to remove the wiring. So I just kind of folded it out so that it frees me up to get in there to do what I need to do. And I'm probably just going to take a bungee cord and wire it up higher out of the way so that I could climb underneath there and take care of business. So I just wanted you to know that the first thing you got to do to change your transmission fluid is to remove this black cover. It's got to be removed. I'm going to pause this. Okay, so here I am underneath now. I tied my little, like I said, I had this thing wired up because I damaged it. I got this is a metal plate that's not in yours, but it's in mine. And so I can keep working. One day I'll buy the right part and I'll put it on. But, you know, I'm a working man. Okay, so I found the bolts. This is called the bell housing right here, and this houses the clutch. And right here where it's bolted up right here, this is the transmission itself. This is the actual transmission part. And right here is the bolt, the nut that you have to take off. This is the filler plug right here. And over here, let me slide that under because I've already loosened it. So right here is the drain plug. It's underneath the CV shaft, but it's on the transmission, not on the bell housing, and it's not one of the bolts that holds the bell housing and the transmission together. It's this one just above it. It even looks like a drain plug in comparison to all the other bolts. It doesn't look, none of these bolts look like all the other bolts. This one does look like a drain plug, but this is not the fill plug or the drain plug. Your fill plug is going to be this one right here. Leave this one alone. And so we're going to loosen this up. I am so sorry, I grabbed the wrong one. See, that's not it. This is on the bell housing. This is on the transmission right here. This is on the bell housing. So I'm going to, this one here I'm talking about. I'm so sorry, I was looking at it. So I'm going to take this one out and slide my container underneath it to catch whatever comes flying out. And the bigger the container, the better. All right, and so out it is, and out it comes. Okay, and it's gulping like this because it's got to breathe. If I'd have took this one out, it would breathe and it would drain better. I didn't want to take this one out in case it was overfilled. So I'm working on getting this one out. There it goes. Oh, and there it goes. There it goes. It's a draining now because I let it breathe. There you go. A little bit of a mess I'll have to clean up, but it's in my driveway, so everything is a-okay. Now, the oil is draining. I'm going to let it finish draining and just let it drip out. And I'm going to pause it because I want to show you something in the book. All right, so this here is a Kia Soul owner's manual. This is the owner's manual. This is the one that tells you how the vehicle what kind of performance it could do. It tells you how to operate the radio. It also tells you very important information like where's the fuses, where the box is located, what fuse is what. It's always in the manual. If you ever purchase a vehicle, I don't care how new or old the vehicle is. I think I got something on my lens here. I don't care how new or old the vehicle is, always request the manual. Don't buy a vehicle that doesn't have the owner's manual in it. I don't care what they say. It didn't come with it. Make them buy one and send it to you. You got to have this thing, okay? And here's why. In this manual, like I've been going on the internet looking, and everybody's using the wrong oil for their vehicle. Kia requires for the manual transmission fluid I got the 2.0. They require a, why is that not in focus? Let me try to clean it again, okay? Why is that not in focus? Let's try that again. So they require GL4, 70 weight oil. GL4 is very important. A lot of people put synthetic in. Synthetic is usually GL5. GL5 is too slippery. There's slippery and then there's too slippery. If it's too slippery, when you're shifting, you'll hear some grinding. You'll have trouble shifting in because the synchronizers that are in there aligning things up are moving too easily. They're not allowed to do that. So this thing here is supposed to be 70 weight oil, GL4. It's very important that you use GL4, okay? Now, I did purchase some oil to do this particular one called off Redline. This is MTLV, and what this is their 70 weight GL4, 70-75 weight GL4, high performance, but important, and it's at 70 weight GL4. It's not 70-90. Okay, that stuff you buy at the store is not going to work. This here is recommended for my vehicle. I've looked it up online. It says it will work. It will fit. It'll not adversely affect my shifting. It'll allow the transmission to shift properly. MTLV. Now, this is the only one that has the LV for the 70-75 weight GL4. So, it's very important that you use the correct oil for this vehicle. If you use the wrong oil, it's going to mess you up. And other information you get, being as I'm waiting for this thing to drain, as you can also see, it even says right here that if you have the dual clutch transmission fluid, you need the GL4 also, 70 weight. It also has oil preferences on this particular model. Depending on the temperature, you could use 2050 oil between the temperatures of 20 degrees and on up. You can use 2050 oil in this car. You can use 1540 in this car, 1030 in this car, and so on. And as it gets colder, of course, you want to use colder oil. So if you're going to be in the 5-degree range, you want to use the 1030 oil. If you're going to be below 5 degrees, you want to use 520 or 530 oil. So this particular book is so invaluable. I don't understand why more people don't insist on having it when they purchase a vehicle. But I just wanted to harp on this, get on my little soapbox, and now I'll get off my soapbox and get back to changing the transmission oil. Okay, I was going to use a pump to pump in the oil out of this container, but unfortunately, this is bigger than this. So I got me one that's clean on the inside, empty, or pretty much empty enough to where it's not going to affect what we're doing. I'll try to drain some more of that out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour this contents into this container, and then I'm going to use this pump that screws on here and fits, and I'm going to pump it in using a hose. And that's the whole plan. I wanted you to see what it's going on. And why when I do turn it on, you're going to see that I have a totally different container with totally different settings. This right here is way too thick for this vehicle. Doesn't matter if it says GL4 or not on it, which I don't think it does. But this stuff here that you can buy at the parts store will not work in this transmission. Has to be 70, no more than 75. Has to be GL4 gear oil, and it's got to be made for the vehicle. So. Okay, so now I got my hose up inside there. I have my good oil poured into this container, and now I'm going to just, this little pump, you can buy this pump at any auto parts store. It doesn't cost that much. And as you pump it, it just pumps 2 ounces or less. It takes a minute to get it to pump up in there. So you just got to just pump away. I believe this is going to take 2 containers or almost. I think I saw online 1.9 quarts. Which is 2 quarts, and you just pump it until it starts leaking out. And I got my container underneath to catch whatever doesn't fit. It's going to fill this thing up, and then it's going to start leaking, and we're going to be good to go. I'm going to pause this until I get this done. Okay, so I added mine actually took 2 to 2.1 quarts of oil, and I was worried that I might be overfilling it, to put a little bit extra in there so that it's for the 0.1 or whatever it is. And so I leveled off my vehicle. I used ramps. I got it up in the air and it tilted it back, and the fill is in front, not in the back. So I jacked up on both sides, leveled off. I got my 2.1 quarts in there and calling it a day on this. I'm going to put the plug back in it, and that's all you have to do in order to get this thing to change your fluid. You can do this yourself. Granted, I've got a little bit of Mickey Mouse stuff going, but it's my vehicle and it's the way it's a work vehicle. That's what this is, and makes me money, and I just want to make sure it stays in good shape. Mechanically sound is always great. You guys have a nice day, and hopefully this video helps you.